Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a really fascinating, poetic, and frankly, deeply philosophical text called Acing Gratitude. It's written by Oluyomi Oladevid. Now, if you've ever found yourself wondering how the quiet, grounding power of thankfulness actually interacts with the intense, driving force of belief, you are absolutely going to love how this material breaks it all down. So let's just jump right in and unpack this really unique framework she presents.
Right off the bat, I want you to notice the incredible dynamic she sets up here. Gratitude is discerning, while faith is zealous. This right here is the central tension of the entire text. On one side of the coin, you have gratitude, which she frames as reflective, careful, and highly perceptive. But then on the other side, you've got faith, which is this active, fiery, zealous engine. As we go through this explainer, we're going to see exactly how she manages to weave these two seemingly completely opposite forces together into one cohesive idea.
But before we go any further, it's really crucial that we understand the mind behind these words, Oluyomi Oladevid. In her own words, she is a Nigerian who just profoundly loves people, and she is deeply, deeply concerned with global development and transformation. She thrives on generating solutions, influencing policy, and providing clarity. So when she writes about big concepts like gratitude and faith, she isn't just sitting around writing abstract poetry. She is actually exploring the very tools she uses to drive real-world impact. And it's really interesting to see how her foundational worldview informs all of this work. She credits her Father God as the ultimate internal driving force behind her mission. The quote we're looking at, "He is the wheel within my wheels," is this incredibly vivid metaphor she uses. She's basically explaining that her ability to generate solutions and influence strategy doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? It's deeply rooted in her spiritual convictions. For her, it acts as the ultimate inner mechanism keeping her moving forward.
Section 1. The Dance of Two Virtues. So, what makes her poems so uniquely compelling is how she pairs gratitude and faith together line by line. It's honestly like this rhythmic dance. Just look at the distinct roles she assigns here. Gratitude is described as a grounding force. It's discerning, and she says it enthrones truth. It's like gratitude establishes what is objectively real and true right in this moment. Conversely, faith is zealous and it gains knowledge. Think of it this way. If gratitude is busy building the throne of truth, faith is out there in the field, eagerly acquiring new insights and pushing the boundaries.
And this brilliantly illustrates the shift in energy between the two. Notice the physical descriptions she uses. Gratitude is prudent. It sits with wisdom. There's a very quiet, intentional stillness to it. But right next to that, she places faith, which she calls active, and says it moves mountains. So you have this quiet prudence of sitting and reflecting, paired immediately with the kinetic, massive power of action. Because logically, you absolutely need the wisdom of knowing where to move the mountain before you actually start pushing, right?
Next, she maps out their emotional and disciplinary roles. Gratitude is loving, and as she notes, love drives out fear. It's essentially creating a safe, secure emotional baseline for us. Now, juxtapose that with faith. She describes faith as obedient, a force that employs mastery. And we all know it takes immense discipline and obedience to truly master anything. So the way she frames it, gratitude clears the mind of fear, which then frees up all this mental space for faith to come in and do the hard, disciplined work of achieving mastery. Notice the restorative imagery she leans into next. She calls gratitude sweet and says it heals the ill. It literally acts as a soothing balm for whatever is broken or hurting. But, and this is key, in her line of work, generating real-world solutions, healing alone just isn't always enough to keep moving forward. That is exactly why she immediately pairs it with faith. Faith, she says, is endowed and leans on the Most High. It has to draw its strength and resources from a higher power. It's this really beautiful balance between internal healing on one hand and external reliance on the other. Crucially, her vision operates on a massive global scale. Gratitude acts as a bright light that teaches a planet. It's an illuminating force meant for everyone. Meanwhile, faith is what provides the raw resilience needed for major systemic change. She calls it tough and says it breaks bondage. It's like a 1-2 punch. You eliminate the dark path with gratitude, and then you shatter the obstacles sitting on that path with tough, unrelenting faith. And all of this brings the entire dialectic to its absolute climax in her poem. By being thankful, gratitude dispels doubt. It completely clears the slate of any hesitation or uncertainty you might have. And once that doubt is completely wiped out, well, it leaves wide open room for faith to step in.
Faith, which she beautifully describes as praiseful, is then totally free to act like a rocket and actively create a future. Because let's be real, you can't build a new future if you're entirely bogged down by doubt about the present. Gratitude handles the present so faith can go build tomorrow.
Section 2. Synthesizing the philosophy.
Okay, so here is the complete breakdown of her text in one single view. We have the reflective attributes of gratitude over on the left and the kinetic attributes of faith on the right. Take a second and really look at these columns. I want you to think about your own life for a moment. Which side of this philosophical spectrum do you naturally lean toward? Are you more reflective and grounding, or are you more kinetic and driving? Because her work strongly suggests that true, lasting balance requires us to activate both columns simultaneously. And honestly, that leads us to the ultimate distillation of Oluyomi Oladevid's entire message. If we were to boil down this whole text into a single equation based on her work in global development, it looks exactly like this. Contentment plus strive equals transformation. The deep, grounding contentment of gratitude, combined with the zealous, mountain-moving drive of faith, is the literal formula she uses to create real systemic change in the world. You need the anchor just as much as you need the engine. So, we're going to leave you with this final thought and a bit of a challenge directly inspired by her brilliant poem. Ask yourself, how do you balance the contentment of gratitude with the relentless drive of faith to create your future? Are you sitting there with all this wisdom, but completely forgetting to move the mountains? Or are you zealous and pushing hard, but forgetting to enthrone the truth? Finding that sweet spot, that balance, is the real key to acing gratitude. Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating text with us today in this explainer. See you next time.